What up, y'all? Welcome to the Frosty Pints Gaming Podcast. How y'all doing tonight?
Yeah,
Delightful.
Looking at pictures of Leetness's bread.
Yes, it does look really amazing.
I'm eating a sandwich.
Yeah, we're sorry we had to take a week off. It was just not, it was a bad week. We'll leave it at that.
Didn't work out.
Yeah, Omega was away, and then Gobi got sick, and then I had to drive somebody to the airport at 11 o'clock at night, and then Leetness was just gone or hungover for the entire week.
Stupid sister-in-law.
Who gets married on a Thursday?
In the middle of the week. Jesus Christ.
On a Thursday, I know.
It was like, oh, I know what we can do on Thursday. We can have a great big fucking wedding, and then we can go to work on Friday.
Well, they moved to, they did go to work, and then they moved to Nashville.
All right.
It's a great excuse.
The bright side.
The very next day.
Good story.
Yeah.
So they went to bed at a reasonable hour on their wedding night. Yeah, that must have been. They're real fun at parties.
That happened? What?
I did. I got married on my lunch break.
Well, you're.
I'm not even joking.
It's like, well, you're not an American, so you can... But you are. I know you are.
I'm an African American, I'll have you know.
That's true, you are. I'm friends with an African American.
See, Gobi, you do know.
We were talking about Wisconsin earlier, so that's where that's from.
Sorry.
And all the fun stuff, yeah.
All the diverse and interesting people that live up there.
Yeah. Anyway, out of gaming, and all the junk you can find in your mice.
Oh yeah, so I threw an article up here about some really stylish mice, ultra lightweight mice that are coming out, and they look pretty banging. They've got a carbon fiber mouse. They've got mice with some holes in them, basically, that just make them really super light and collect crap a lot easier.
I was thinking the same thing.
And they're sponsored by Ninja. Isn't this podcast sponsored by Ninja, though?
I'm pretty sure we're sponsored by Ninja.
At this point, I'm pretty sure one of us is Ninja.
It's definitely not me.
I first heard about this ultralight mouse trend probably about a year ago.
I first heard about it about 5 years ago.
Well, anyway, the article that I read back then was saying that they were shipping these mice with weights that you could remove in there. So because they found that most people actually like the feel of the mouse to have some heft to it. So I don't even understand why ultralight mice are becoming a thing, because there's the tactile sensation of having the mouse in your hand. And I don't know about you guys, but I could game for a pretty long session. My wrist doesn't exactly get tired from moving a mouse over the 5 square inches of my mouse pad that I have to travel.
Yeah, and that's probably because we all go outside and do things that exercise our wrists instead of just sit behind a computer for 18 hours a day between sleeping sessions.
Do you masturbate in public?
Oh, all the fucking time. Are you kidding me? Why do you think I'm not allowed to ride the bus anymore?
That's why it's the most fun.
That's what I thought. Same reason I'm not allowed to go to the fire station.
It's the point of jerking off if people can't watch you do it.
Yeah.
I thought everyone would appreciate my big fire hose jokes. Fucking prudes.
Oh gosh. Anyway, yeah, that was... The only thing is they're lacking buttons as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, by the way,
yeah,
hi
so the same
Gobi's
thing,
daughter,
Gobi.
how you doing?
Yeah, hi Gobi's kids that aren't supposed to be listening to this but totally are.
Oh, every single one of them. Every one of them. Yep. I just hope her friends don't. That's all.
If you know what you're talking about, ask your dad.
Or if you're somebody else's kid, ask Gobi.
I'm so you call them to the principal's office this year.
Gobi is now our youth officer.
I have no idea. I'm technically trying to teach them anything. It's not my fault. They're from the East Coast.
Don't look in his
and
gun closet.
Africa. So
Wait.
Yeah, you can look in there.
No joke. Stop me if we shouldn't talk about this on the podcast, Kobe. Didn't one of your daughters go to like show and tell at school and tell the class that you had a doctor you were friends with and you were gonna go like fly out and play games with him or something?
Yeah, they got a little confused on the whole
I know,
whole, DrNiggle.
like she's young. I just thought it was adorable.
He's a real doctor, though.
Yeah, I'm totally a real
Yeah.
doctor in Venezuela.
Yeah, my youngest daughter did that, and my son, he was in 4K last year, and right at the beginning of the year, he got basically told that he was telling stories and he needed to stop telling stories because he was saying how he had his own computer and he was playing all these games with dad and stuff. And I went
Yeah.
in for a parent teachers conference, and the teacher brought it up, and I started laughing. And she's like, "What's so funny? It's not funny." I go, "No, you're wrong. Like, he does have his own gaming computer and he does play those games
Well,
with
like,
me."
what fucking backwards ass school are you sending your kids to where teachers don't understand that kids play fucking video games?
This is Wisconsin. They don't have internet there.
Yeah, I don't think the teacher believed that Gobi was a good enough dad to get his kid a gaming rig.
What?
Yeah, which is
No,
horse
like,
shit.
This is 4K. We're talking about a kid in 4K. He's 4 years old, and he's talking about playing video games for over a year. Most like 3-year-old kids aren't playing games like The Division.
Yeah, but I played Division with you and your son. Your son's pretty damn good.
I know. I mean, yeah. So I mean, I said that straight, and then yeah, my daughter was my youngest daughter, Lovie, was the one who was talking about how I had this doctor friend, and I had to clarify that I didn't fly out every night and play video games with DrNiggle. We communicated over the internet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah.
And
So,
then on the flip side, my teenager that's not supposed to be listening to these, that probably is, I'll embarrass her ass a little bit. So she got her phone taken away today because she was this attitude pants. I love waking up in the morning on a fucking Sunday and having to deal with a 14-year-old with an attitude. Oh, it was awesome. And then she got into a fight with her 5-year-old little brother. Yes, it was great.
it's
Kids are
fantastic.
good.
Bet you're still loving having those kids, huh, Gobi?
Yeah, it was great.
Hey, I love my kids, but sometimes it's like I'm kind of glad they go to their moms. I mean, I miss the hell out of them, but
Did you hear that? Your dad doesn't love you, kids. He loves it when you're gone.
Speaking of teenagers,
Wait,
I
has
wish
anyone?
my
Does anyone?
teenager would win me $3 million.
Oh yeah, because of the Twitch. I was gonna ask if anybody remembered Captain Hook or the movie Hook with Dustin Hoffman and Robin Williams in it. Because
Yes.
that's
Love
what
that
Hook
movie.
said. Hook said, "Mommy and Daddy don't love you. They can't wait until you go to bed." That's what a mean old man says. It's not true.
that he's referring to you, Omega.
Gobi takes it a step further. He's like, yeah, get the fuck out of my house. I don't want you here.
I only do because I have to, man.
Uh,
Otherwise, it would so be bedtime every night.
Kyle Gersdorf, 16. He's a U.S. citizen. He won $3 million, I think. Yeah, $3 million in the solo event competition in the Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York, which hosted the which hosted the ePrize or esports US esports Fortnite championships.
It was the Fortnite World Cup Finals.
Yeah, but I mean, he didn't just win, he dominated. I don't know if you guys
Yeah.
actually watched any clips of that, but that guy was fucking good.
I didn't
Like,
watch. I did read the
He
article.
wasn't
though.
just good, he was incredibly good. And the thing that's crazy is how people are blowing up about this and saying, I can't believe somebody playing video games, blah, 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 blah. But when you look at the actual numbers on how many people get drawn to these esports events, they're getting like 5-6 times more viewers than, like fucking Wimbledon. And
Yeah.
the Wimbledon championship they win like $3 million. So this guy should actually be pissed off that he's only getting $3 million.
Well, I think it is also worth talking about the fact that like this is totally being astroturfed by Epic. Like other esports tournaments that have far smaller prize pools, they have these smaller prize pools because that's the money that they're bringing in. Like, yes, you're right, there are far fewer, or like they have a lot of viewers, but it's still not making a lot of money because advertisers spend a lot more money on a tennis tournament than a video games tournament because tennis is watched and played by rich assholes with a shit ton of disposable income. What Epic is doing here, Epic is like, I was when I did the my esports show, I was doing a lot of research into Fortnite and like who the big winners and like the best players were before these the World Cup finals. The highest the highest earner playing Fortnite in the world had made just under $500,000 over the last 2 years of competitive Fortnite. And then Epic rolls in, does this tournament, and blows that total that that guy had earned over a ton of different competitions in just one event. The prize pool just so hugely overshadows everything. And Epic isn't making money on this. They are just no, they're just they throwing this like they didn't make money. They gave away $30 million as a total prize pool in the World Cup. They did not earn that much in terms of revenue, but they made $2.5 billion last year off Fortnite, so they can afford to throw this money away. This is just Epic swinging their dick around, and more power to them, of course. But this isn't like you look at StarCraft or CS:GO or any of these other competitive esports that have been around for a while. That is a lot more accurate to what esports as an actual competitive sport can make on its own. This is just Epic funding their own competition with the money that's literally pouring out of their pockets.
Yeah, the money pouring out of their pockets is a little more apt. It's like saying that you're not making any money off an advertising campaign. Well, directly, no, you're not, but indirectly, that's what the advertising campaign is for.
But I feel like this is still relatively in its infancy in comparison to something like London. So you're comparing dollars to dollars. If you look at how many years this has been going, um, I feel like people still are people still have a stigma of esports not being an actual sport. Like you watch the news and how people react to this little kid, 16 years old, making $3 million, and they're like, "Oh well, I should just go play Fortnite."
Yeah,
You
good
know,
fucking luck.
and yeah, exactly. That's my point. Is there's no
Yeah.
fucking chance they would ever come anywhere even close. Even if they spend 24 hours a day fucking playing that game nonstop for 6 years, they just you don't have the fucking ability to do that. Not anybody can just pick it up and do it. These guys are like incredibly talented. They're like sports stars, and because they do have that special something.
I
So
am 100% sure, Leetness, that these world champions went to Fortnite University.
exactly, they went to Fortnite University. It's a secret university that no one knows about,
And it makes you a pro in the course of like
It
a
makes
couple
you pro.
weeks.
Ask me how, and I'll. It only costs $347, and I'll explain to you how to get to how the Fortnite University works.
Yeah, the prize pool for the World Championships of StarCraft last year was 500,000 USD. So it's a fraction of this one.
Yeah, I think it's going to get bigger though, and it's
No,
only going to
StarCraft.
get better.
Well, but that's the interesting thing about esports, though, is like StarCraft has been shrinking year after year. The big money prize pools in StarCraft peaked out probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, and it's been shrinking since. And this is the thing about Fortnite. I was talking to the tournament organizer who did the show that I was on, and this guy is like a professional Fortnite, the competitive Fortnite organizer, and he literally travels the world. He's from Paris. He came to do our show from Spain, where he just did another competition. And after the shows were all done, we went out drinking and we were talking about it. And I asked him, like, so how long do you think Fortnite has left? And he said 2 years. and this is a guy who's like super in the esports scene. He was like a special guest at the World Cup. Like he was there drinking and partying on Epic's dollar. And that's the thing about esports is like you look at Wimbledon. That's a competition that has centuries long history that
Well, yeah,
is super
yeah, but
ingrained in as a cultural institution. Esports, a new game comes and goes every couple of years,
yeah, but
and
I'm
then
talking about esports as an actual genre, like tennis. So I'm not comparing Fortnite as the sport. I'm talking about esports compared to tennis.
well, I don't think you can make that comparison though because it's more it would be more accurate to say Fortnite is like tennis, while StarCraft is like football. While they're each
Well,
game is a different sport basically, so they're
yeah,
each
but
gonna.
they don't come out with a new version of tennis every year.
That's true.
If they did, then
Yeah.
tennis might die too. Because I mean, okay, well, tennis is rooted in tradition and all of that sort of stuff, and I get that. It's a sport that people are going to continue to watch because it doesn't change. But and it's there's well, it does change, but not drastically to the point where people are developing a new version of it every single year. So I think that they're exactly in comparison. If you compare esports to tennis, they're both a type of a medium of sport,
They're all the sport. They're
right?
all yeah. I mean, because
And the
like
game that you're playing is irrelevant, in my opinion. I think the problem is
yeah,
that people aren't taking esports as a valid sport yet. That's
Yeah,
the problem.
yet.
Well,
But
yeah.
but
I think
if
it's
you
growing, and it is.
It
it
is.
definitely is. It absolutely is. But if you look at if you take out this massive $30 million prize pool from Epic, which again is not indicative of the actual market for esports content, it's a lot smaller than you might think. It is definitely growing, and it will continue to grow. I don't doubt that. And the fact that there is a new game coming out every 2 years will only increase that longevity, but it also will add a lot of volatility that established sports don't have. And whereas with established sports, you have people, having their entire career in a sport. You in esports, a new game comes, and all of a sudden, the game that you've been playing and got really good at, and were earning money at for a few years, nobody's paying anybody to play that game anymore. And we're not talking, you know, be when you look at it like each game is a different sport. You can't just switch games. You don't see pro gamers who are top level pro gamers among different games.
Yeah,
So it is going to be harder to have a long lasting career doing esports. Like it's not something that somebody's going to be able to make a lifetime's worth of money playing one game in the few short years that game is on top of the esports market. So right now it's
yeah,
Fortnite. In a couple years, and if Epic wasn't funding this massive tournament with their own money, you look 3 years down the line, nobody's paying anybody to play Fortnite anymore, and all these kids who, yeah, they made, like I said before this tournament, the highest earner made $500,000 just about. Stretch that out over another couple of years, maybe he makes about $1 million before nobody cares about Fortnite anymore. And
yeah.
at
But
that point, he's got to get a real job.
I think that it's not more. It's less about the individuals and more about the teams, in my opinion. Like if when it comes down to esports, it's all about the teams that
Yeah,
are
I
the
mean, teams
individual
can
games.
make a
Like
living
people are
because
gonna yeah,
go
and
on.
those the players change all the time.
Yeah, but like take Gears of War 4. Like they had esports. It started back in Gears of War 3. It's Gears of War 4 now. It's going to be Gears of War 5. I mean, there's guys that have been playing esports and Gears since you know the 2006, 2007. Some of them have moved up to broadcaster now and make boo dollars doing that. Like Gears of War 4 paid out from 2016 to 2019 $3 million over from 41 different tournaments, and that's just for Gears of War 4. That's not including all the tournaments they had for Gears 3, and
Yeah.
plus they got a bunch coming up for Gears 5. I mean, same thing
Yeah.
with Call of Duty.
You just said over 7 years they paid out $3 million.
No, that's 3 years. 3 years.
Oh, over
2016
3
to
years.
2019.
Okay. 60. So over 3 years they paid out $3 million.
Million
Divided
a
among
year.
everybody in all these tournaments, that's not a lot of money. Like these aren't careers. These aren't like when people are talking about whether or not it's a viable career. These kids aren't going to like be able to retire after their esports career. They're going to have to get a job.
It is an interesting point, though, that Gobi's brought up, is you got Gears 3 and now Gears 4, and they have plans for Gears 5 tournaments. The original StarCraft, there were tournaments for that. People did make money. And then StarCraft 2, obviously, I don't know, in my opinion, kind of threw esports into the limelight, because that's definitely when I started watching esports tournaments, was StarCraft World Championships with Idra. And then what happens when the next iteration of StarCraft comes out? Is it going to get a bump? Is it going to do even better than StarCraft 2 did? So that's going back to what Lena said about, I don't even know. I'm just thinking about boobs.
Ah, yes, boobs.
So there was a slut stream on July 30th. If anybody wants to talk about that.
Yeah, well, the funny thing, it's more the articles. One is from PC Gamer, and the other one is from Kootaka or whatever. And
Kotaku.
the PC Gamer is this nice face shot, and then text and all that stuff. And the other one is
Cleavage.
Like you open up a page, and
Times
there
2
it
or
is.
3. I got a recommended article too that shows me cleavage. I was like, you may enjoy. I was like, yes, I may.
Yes.
Anyway, Twitch streamer Casey Tron decided to organize a slut stream on July 30th, and I guess they did raise over $3,000 for Freedom 24/7, which is a nonprofit that partners with other organizations to provide services to victims and raise awareness about sex trafficking around the world. So that's a noble cause, but I did think it was kind of funny that they decided to take on the word slut by organizing streams where they wore the sluttiest clothing that they could. I don't have a problem with it. I would have watched if I was around, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, I think, in that sense. I don't have a problem with them doing that at all and standing against that, because I do feel like it's a topical issue that needs to be addressed, but I think it could have just possibly been done differently.
We were talking a little
Maybe
before the
was it
stream
better?
started up. Yeah, exactly. No, we were talking before the stream started up, and it was like maybe they should have tried organizing an anti-slut stream or something, like all Twitch thoughts for the day wore bulky clothing and all the rest of that, and you actually had to sit there and listen to these people and maybe learn something about them as human beings. Of course, the pervs on Twitch aren't interested in that sort of thing, so they probably would have seen a decline in revenue for the day.
Turtleneck stream.
Turtleneck stream. I like it.
That would have definitely gotten views for sure.
But it's cool that they raised money for a charity.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So.
Oh yes, Switch gives Android.
Let's switch.
It's actually pretty neat. Yeah, let's switch it up. They added apparently you can install Lineage OS 15.1, which is Android 8.1, on your Nintendo Switch, if you really want to.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not sure.
It's like
I
jailbreaking
want
your
to,
phone.
but-
Oh, really? What's
So
the benefit?
if you do, well, you can run. What is this? Why did I put this?
Basically, Android games.
So slightly worse games than what you can get on Switch.
Are you bashing Max Payne, the original Max Payne?
Oh.
By the original Max
Yeah,
Payne, you
you
mean
can.
Android?
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, yes, you
Max
can.
Payne was a good game.
Yeah, you can't hate on Max Payne.
I mean, I don't mind Max Payne, but I mean, I think that Androids aren't my favorite of OS.
So, but the point was, you can first of all, it is jailbreaking. So if you do it, you're not gonna get official support anymore. If your Switch breaks, they're gonna tell you, "Oh, too bad, so sad. You probably shouldn't have broken ROS." But the point behind it is that you can install Lineage OS 15.1, which is based off Android 8.1, and you can use it. You can browse the web, you can play mobile games, and theoretically anything else that you could do on a mobile device. So it's kind of an upgrade for your Switch, but at the same time, it's a little iffy.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah. I'm not a fan of Android as it is, so I'd rather just stick to the limited access.
Does the Leetness have an iPhone?
I do.
Oh boy.
I'm not a Mac fan at all. In fact, I hate Macs big time. But I do find iOS a lot easier to use than an Android, and it's just slicker, And if you go to the App Store, the choice that you have on there is a hell of a lot better than the choices that you get on the Android Play Store. There's just so much fucking garbage on the Play Store.
You know that on an Android device, you can customize your GUI, right?
Yeah.
You can make it look like an iPhone if you want.
You can even make it with Android 9. You can make it feel like one.
Yeah.
It's
just saying. I'm just saying.
You still got those stupid buttons at the bottom that don't act the way they're supposed to. The whole interface and the way it works is just cheesy and bad.
I got a single button on the bottom of my screen, just like you.
It doesn't feel like mine though. I bet you. I don't even have a button anymore. See? It's no longer an iPhone.
I don't have a button either.
I don't have any buttons. There's 0 buttons on my screen, and I get haptic feedback from touching the buttons that don't exist.
Yeah, I don't have buttons on my phone either, and my phone vibrates when I touch it if I tell it to, but I don't because,
Yes, I hate haptic feedback. Hate it.
Stupid.
Oh man.
So yeah, you're.
You hate it till you touch it and feel it.
I
turn it off.
Have no button.
Yeah, I also root my phone because I don't run a standard OS. In fact, other than this phone, every phone I owned, I wrote my own OS for it.
I've had them. You wrote your own OS?
Yeah. I base it off of Lineage, or it used to be called Cajun Mod. Before I would use that as a base, and then I would customize it to my liking. Then I'd build it from source and install it on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, you are living in the wrong part of the country, Gobi. You need to go somewhere where people pay you like millions of dollars to code, creating custom OSs for people online.
I do it just as a hobby. If I had to do it as a job, I'd hate it. But because I do it because it's a hobby, I absolutely love it.
That's the other thing we didn't bring up. Gobi's internet is all fixed. It's all better, right, Gobi?
It is. It's fucking amazing to have 10 megabyte download.
Yay! Fuck Frontier.
Everything's nice and clear. I can actually record the MP3 tonight myself. Like, everybody sounds great. It's amazing when shit works.
And it only took them a month and a half.
Yep, only. And the tech had to come all the way from Indiana.
Jesus.
Like that's how bad it was. It was a fucking nightmare. And I was right. It was a hardware issue. One of the lines, little wires out in the box by the road, was broken inside the sleeve. And apparently it was on my primary line, so my secondary was connecting just fine, and that's why I was getting the 600 whatever. I was getting basically a half speed. But every time the primary one, like the two wires hit, it tried to connect, and then that's when it was booting me. That's what was going on. So the guy finally fixed it and did his job right. I was super happy. I gave him a glowing review, but fuck Frontier.
I actually went to the Consumer Reviews website and looked up Frontier. Surprise, surprise, they've got more negative reviews than positive reviews. People all over the country fucking hate them.
I'm pretty sure you'll find that's the case for every cable or internet company in the country.
All right, I'll take that challenge.
Yeah, I mean, out
think
here, Charter,
anybody likes
like,
any of them.
everybody
No one-
hates Charter everywhere else. But
yeah,
for
no one
whatever
likes
reason,
Charter. Yeah.
around here, everybody loves Charter. They're fucking awesome. It never goes down. They keep great speeds. Like, it's consistent. And they're top of the line with 60 megabyte download. Just so you're aware. Like,
I picked Cox.
oh, we don't even have that. We have, if you don't have Frontier DSL, your other choice is satellite, which is slower than Frontier, or those stupid cellular things. Like we have Bug Tussle. You guys, it's probably called something else out by you guys, but it comes over basically like a wireless frequency, like a cell phone. So your speeds aren't as good. Plus, you have a high ping, and then you have Charter cable. And unless you get in like the bigger cities, then you have like TDS. But I don't even think we have. What's the other one? I want to say Camcon, but it's not. That's the game company.
Comcast?
Comcast. Yes, we don't. That doesn't even exist around here. But I know everybody hates Comcast because who likes fucking limits?
Okay, so for consumer affairs, the rating for Frontier Communications is an average of 2.2. And yeah, that's out of a possible 5. The next one up would be Comcast at a rating of 2.8, with a particular focus on Xfinity and Comcast Internet Services, which is kind of shit. The Charter Communications has 3 stars, so I mean better than Frontier apparently. And Verizon Fios has an average of 3.5. So you've shown a difference between 2 and 3.5, difference of 1.0. That's not bad. No 5-star internet services around my area, unfortunately.
So according to Netflix, the ISP speed index is highest rated Verizon Fios, then Spectrum, then Cox. If you go to
I could probably believe
ISPspeedindex.netflix.com, you can actually see the ratings for by country in terms of which is the highest rated. Pretty cool.
I mean, the issues with cable and internet companies isn't necessarily speed. It's more to do with reliability and customer service. And
No, fuck that. I'll take speed any day.
Oh,
you can
Just joking.
customer service always sucks.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we've gotten to the point where we just expect to be routed to a call center in Mumbai.
Yeah, like, cause you can pick any one of them. Customer service is gonna suck. Some of them try really hard. Once in a while, you get a really good person on the other end of the phone. The odds of that happening are like probably 1 in a billion, because that's about what it feels like. But across the board, customer service is always shit. And yeah, unfortunately, we just have to expect it. I mean,
because cable companies have no incentive to do otherwise. They're a government-sanctioned monopoly in pretty much every market that they exist. And for the markets that they do share, they have enough power as a monopoly elsewhere that they don't give a shit about those few customers that they actually do have to perform for.
There's a whole South Park episode about it.
It's universally regarded as one of like the worst industries. Nobody likes their cable company. It's always like, yeah, that it doesn't suck too bad.
I will say, I think I told Gobi about this, or maybe I brought it up on a podcast, but the last time there was a power outage at my house, it was because some dumbass didn't check the transformer outside on the telephone pole, and the transformer actually blew, caused a power surge in my house, destroyed a bunch of electrical equipment, and the box in my basement where the fiber comes in. So I called FiOS. I told him what happened. I was like, look, you got to come replace the battery in this box because it doesn't work without the battery. And miraculously, they did actually get someone down here within 2 or 3 days. And the guy came down to my basement. And I was just like, yeah, it was the power surge. I don't know what else to tell you. And he was just like, yeah, this is a cheap Chinese piece of shit. So let me tell you what I'm gonna do. He took the battery, he ripped it out of the box, and he was just like, you don't need this anymore. And he plugged in this complete third-party power switch, basically, and just plugged it into the wall and then plugged it into the box. He was just like, that's going to work forever. And I was like, okay.
Jeez.
Well, see,
Oh,
you know the thing about that is that wasn't somebody from your cable company. That was a contractor. The contractors are all good people. They all get the shit end of the stick because they have to put on the uniform of whatever shitty company they're representing that day. And it's really terrible job for them because they get paid by the job, by work order. So that's why, with all that shit that you were going through, Gobi, why they didn't look into it and actually figure out what was wrong after so many times, because they're under constant pressure to move on to the next job. But they are decent people just trying to make a living, and they're not the fucking evil company at the core of things that are ripping off customers and not giving a shit.
I was going to say, I thought it was maybe because you gave him a handy or something.
Nah, he was a good guy, but he was too busy for that. Anyway, Doom 2 and Doom 3? Yeah, Doom 3 are slaying their way to the Switch. Doom. It's coming to Switch, boys. You can play it if you're into the Doom series, which I was. I really enjoyed all 3 of those games.
I didn't realize it, but apparently it came out on the Xbox 360 and the Xbox Games Marketplace.
That's right,
and
yeah.
Are now in mobile app stores. What?
They are, yeah.
Doom on my phone?
$5 for Doom and Doom 2, and then $10 for Doom 3.
There's a rumor that Doom 64 is going to be coming out for computers.
Is that still a rumor? I thought that was confirmed.
Well, it hasn't been officially stated, but they applied for a PEGI rating, which is that's the European board that rates games, and you don't need to apply for a rating unless you're planning on releasing a game on in the application for the rating you say what systems it's going to be on, and the game was PEGI rated for consoles and PC. So it looks like Doom 64, which was Doom 64, which was my first Nintendo 64 game way back in the day, is getting a re-release.
Yeah, it was July 28th that PC Games picked up that a PEGI rating had been issued for it, and you don't really get a PEGI rating unless you're coming to PC.
Well, they need PEGI ratings for the consoles as well. As you just specify it in your application, and the application said PC as well. Could have been an oversight. Could have just been they accidentally applied for it on PC as well. Maybe Nintendo is going to hang on to the rights. Who knows? But man, I would fucking love to relive Doom 64.
Nice.
Yeah. And onto games that none of us will ever play, but are interesting because of a simple character. Death Stranded.
Oh, Death Stranding, yeah. Kojima Productions putting out Death Stranding. It is a PS4 exclusive, so take that as you will. But it's got Trevor from Walking Dead. Daryl, whatever. I don't watch the fucking show.
Yeah, I mean, the one screenshot of the game looks pretty neat. It looks like it's going to be a very pretty game.
Yeah, it does look.
Yeah.
I saw the trailer. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, the atmosphere looks absolutely amazing to it. And this is the game which had a trailer come out years ago, and everyone was trying to figure out what the fuck was happening in the trailer because it didn't make any sense. There was Norman Reedus yawned, and we went down his esophagus, and there was a baby in his stomach who gave us a thumbs up, and we were like, what? How did baby get into Norman?
Right? Lucky bastard.
So yeah, Norman Reedus is in there. There's also the woman who played in the last Bond movie, which we discovered was Spectre. I don't remember her name. She is French. And there's the gentleman who played Hannibal Lecter on the TV show Hannibal, who was also in a Bond movie, Casino Royale. He was Le Chiffre. And I don't remember his name either, because I'm having one of those days.
Yeah, I remember. He did a really good job in the Bond movie.
He did an
Bond
excellent job.
people.
He is a talented actor. He does pretty excellent in everything that he does.
There's a torture scene in that movie that you just cannot fucking unsee if you're a guy. I don't care how hard you try. Like, you see it one time and you'll see it every time somebody mentions that movie.
Well, but the entire world does know that Le Chiffre died scratching James Bond's balls.
Oh my god.
The woman that I'm trying...
Fucking not.
Yeah, the woman I'm trying to remember her name is Leah Seydoux. I do not know how to correctly pronounce her last name, but she also had a bit part in the Grand Budapest Hotel. I've seen a handful of her movies, actually. She's also a very talented actor.
Yeah. And then a couple weeks ago, we brought up the game Raw. Developers, it was a Kickstarter game. They got kicked off Kickstarter. Apparently, they said Kickstarter was unprofessional and plan an Indiegogo campaign next. So we'll still get to see what's gonna happen with this game and see how it turns out. It should be interesting.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep an eye on that one. I'm excited.
Yeah. Hopefully, something comes of it within the next year or so.
Pumped.
We did talk about how the reason Raw got kicked off Kickstarter in the first place was because they only asked for a fraction of the money that they thought it was going to cost to finish their game. I think what did they ask for? Like 70,000, 75,000?
Yeah.
And then in a developer tweet they said it's probably going to cost closer to $300,000, and so Kickstarter came back and said, no, you're supposed to ask for the money that you need to create a finished product. Anything else we consider kind of a scam. And I think we all talked about it and agreed that was probably a wise attitude for them to have.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little funny that Raw comes back and calls Kickstarter unprofessional when they started a Kickstarter without understanding how Kickstarter worked. But
Yeah.
That's my opinion on this too. Like, I'm glad that the game is gonna keep moving forward, but like, why are you gonna shit on Kickstarter when you guys explicitly violated the terms and conditions of using Kickstarter?
yeah, it's like you play soccer, you pick up a soccer ball and you throw it into the goal, and they say no, and they red card you, and you're like, well, soccer's a stupid game anyway. Like, yeah, because you don't know the rules.
I love the first comments on that article that you guys that we have linked is disclaimer: this may or may not be a scam. Thanks for your patronage.
The funny part is the first line of the article. On July 15th, a day before its Kickstarter campaign would have closed with $191,429 pledged, over double its asked for funding. GTA Online sandbox game Raw campaign was suspended. So, did I read that right? As in, they had already raised 191K
Yeah.
before it was suspended?
Well, you don't get the money from Kickstarter until the campaign ends.
Right.
So, like, when you set up a Kickstarter campaign, you state your goal and you state an end date. If you don't meet the goal by the end date, it's a failed Kickstarter and everybody gets their money back. If you exceed the goal, it's just extra funding. So if they had never said, oh, we expect this to actually cost a lot more, they would have ended up keeping that 100K, which was twice as much as they asked for. But the fact that they opened their mouth meant that they admitted to basically violating the rules that they agreed to.
They had almost 2/3 of their ask for, or what they thought it was going to take before it closed. Like, That's crazy. I mean, clearly, I think people wanted to see the game because, I mean, yeah, it's ambitious. Apparently, they took a lot of flack from streamers and redditors. That doesn't surprise me shit. I mean, people
Yeah.
throw flack all the time on Reddit. I mean, that's just the common go-to thing.
Yeah, the comment section of this article is full of
Quite
salt.
funny. Yeah, it's quite funny. Trash.
Yeah, this is a scam. People are giving their money to this will never see a return on their investment.
People are so
Giving to a
optimistic
kick-
nowadays.
If you give to a Kickstarter, you don't see a return on your investment. It's not. People who think that you like a Kickstarter is an investment are stupid. That's not how Kickstarter works.
No. Well, in this case, they might just mean like a product that you could play. That's a return of sorts.
Well, but that's actually the interesting thing though is if they don't get that money to go to completion, you get your money back. So that's why Kickstarter is arguably the safer crowdfunding platform because Indiegogo and GoFundMe, like those kind of things, like you give that money and that's just like you've given them that money. They could set it on fire, or they could wipe their ass with it, and you've given them that money to do with what they will with
Shit.
no.
Yeah, I'm out of toilet paper.
Yep. So
No, I mean I'm
Kickstarter-
actually out of toilet paper.
well,
Better break out those $100 bills.
Thank God I
Do you
did a
have a-
stream in the bathroom.
Do you have a cat?
No.
You could just use the cat.
I,
I've got a cat you can have.
I know, you keep on trying to unload your cats on me, and I keep telling you I don't want them.
Only
Yeah,
one. The other
I
one's
think
gone
you
now.
have to-
The other one's missing. Sadly.
Missing.
The one that I like is missing.
There isn't a Korean food place around you, is there?
I don't know, but I would take this one nearby if it was.
That is how you get kicked off YouTube.
Oh.
Right. Moving on.
Yeah, there's another article here about how Rockstar has received £42 million in tax relief, according to Think Tank. I'm gonna let Omega talk about this one.
So yeah, this British think tank did some research and digging and found that Rockstar Games, which has made how much is it off?
Wait, what is today? Sunday?
I
$800
don't
billion.
know, a shit ton.
Well, let me pull up the article just to get the numbers in. So sales of GTA estimate about $6 billion so far. Yet they not only do they not pay taxes in the UK, but they've received the equivalent of about $51 million in tax relief from the government. So this think tank that did this research is like basically calling them out for it. Turns out there's this law in the UK that was passed a few years ago called the Video Games Tax Relief Fund, and it's they Rockstar applied for these video games tax credits in the UK, which is this program to give tax credits to art that's produced in the UK. It's done by the British Film Institute, and Rockstar Games, which makes all these games that pretty much universally take place in the U.S. or cities modeled after the U.S. because none of the cities in GTA actually exist, but they're basically American cities. The company is based in Scotland, and the British Film Institute decided to grant these games the culturally British stamp, which made them eligible to apply for these tax credits. And it turns out that a full 20% of the tax relief paid to the entire video game industry since the program has come into effect in the UK has gone to Rockstar. So this company that's made $6 billion off this game is also gobbling down tax credits and not paying a dime in tax credits.
Well, they do have a game about murdering and stealing and robbing people, so I guess
Well,
they're
but
just doing it in real life.
Well, here's where it gets really shady, and this is where like you start to realize just how shady the corporate world is. The reason they were eligible for the tax credits is because Rockstar and Take Two under the Rockstar umbrella, like these companies declared just $57 million in profits in the UK because most of the profits are made in the US, so they don't
Um,
count. So this company made $6 billion. They claimed $50 million in tax credits in the UK by saying, "Oh, it's because we didn't make the money here, so it doesn't count." So
Well,
basically,
I
they're
mean,
robbing the people of the UK blind.
yeah, that's corporate finances for you, though.
how dare all of you? These poor corporations are just eking out a meager living, and we need to be more forgiving of their swindling nature.
I love the second comment again. Disgusting. You know what else is disgusting? No Red Dead Redemption on PC.
Yeah, what the fuck? Where's my Red Dead on PC?
We want to give you more money.
Fucking shit stains.
Oh god, that's true though. I do want to give them more money if they were to bring Red Dead 2 onto PC. I would I would let them get away with the tax fraud. I think that
Yeah,
should
no,
be
I'm British, so I don't give a shit.
I think that should be a thing. Like just allow allow them to get a pass if they make Red Dead 2 on PC.
I like the one comment that was like, "Does this mean we can pirate their games since they're basically funded by our tax dollars anyway?"
Right.
You've
That was
technically
pretty
already
good.
paid for the game. I'd say yes.
Should be just released to all British citizens for free. Fair enough. You don't make the money in the UK. We'll just give them. We'll just give them the game.
You heard it here first, folks. GTA Online, free in the UK.
What about that NVIDIA falling for AMD's off? Thought that was pretty good.
They got
Yeah,
chip baited.
I saw this about a week ago. It is super funny. So there's the new graphics cards that have been coming out. You got the RTX Super line that Nvidia just dropped, and then you've got AMD's the RX 5700 and the 5700 XT. And the one of the vice presidents at AMD said publicly in an interview that they basically double bluffed Nvidia to screw them, and Nvidia fell for it. So the way it played out is AMD announced their initial price for their 5700 lines deliberately a significant portion lower than what their research said Nvidia would price their new super cards at, and they were right. So when they announced their lower price, they made Nvidia drop their prices. But the lower price that AMD set for their cards wasn't the final price that they were going to set for their cards. They actually were going to set them even lower. So they tricked Nvidia into dropping their prices on their cards, and then they turned right around and undercut them anyway. So
It's a
not only
little laugh out loud moment there.
yeah, not only are they do they have the cheaper card, but they also cut into the prices or into the profits that Nvidia is going to make. And the best part about it is if Nvidia has kept their prices higher, they could at least try and fuel the perception that because of the higher cost, it's a higher quality product. But now they're close enough in price that it's obvious that they're like the same capabilities. They're basically the same, the same horsepower, and they're just the more expensive option. This is the kind of corporate shenanigans that I like. This is like corporate warfare. I dig it.
Yeah. So the I was actually
I-
thinking if I was gonna build a new rig, I was probably gonna go AMD because of the new hardware that they were putting out. But this is just another reason why I would go with AMD, honestly.
Well, my GPU is getting pretty old, and I'm seriously considering upgrading it. And I've been looking at the Super line, but now that all this has happened, I mean, I've got an AMD card right now, and it's done me good for a long time. But this is like,
Hey.
you know what? I applaud you guys. I'm gonna go with you guys just because I like. I
Just
like the
because you
shenanigans.
dicked with Nvidia.
I like the shenanigans. I support it.
I don't know.
You know,
When it's the kind of
I've been
shenanigans
an
where
AMD guy.
when we the consumers win, yeah, I agree with you. I like that corporate shenaniganery. Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
I don't know.
If any
Shaniqua?
motherfucker says shenanigans one more time, I'm gonna pistol whip you.
Hey, Farva, what's your restaurant?
Sharissa.
Oh, you mean shenanigans?
Are you supposed to whip yourself?
Yeah, actually, I posted a link in the GSPC room, I believe. A Power Color 5700 XT for $399. If you have never heard of Power Color, I've owned one. In fact, I still own one to this day. I bought a Power Color Devil R9 390X, which is a card I'm still using to this day, and it's still going strong. $399 for that good a card. I'm even thinking about upgrading because, I mean, as much as my 390 is doing good, it's getting old. And
Yeah, well,
$399.
and I really like.
Oh,
'Cause,
that's
yeah,
a
they
great
announced,
price.
Like, because right now the Radeon RX 5700s, like they're right now they're only in the shrouded like Founders Edition, like the standard way that AMD has released them in like the single blower fan shrouded configuration. They announced like in end of August, early September that they're going to start going to like their partner companies who make the dual fan and like basically the aftermarket companies that we all know, Asus, MSI, Sapphire, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so $399 is the price point, and it's awesome that these companies are like announcing their versions and keeping that price point. That is super cool.
I think I even saw a pink one somewhere. I didn't tag the link, but it's been interesting to see. I know there's a couple other ones out there in the wild too that I noticed that were other than Power Color, and they were all the same price. They definitely look like solid cards. I mean, spec wise too. I don't think you go wrong within the 5700 XT. I mean, especially for $400. I mean,
yeah.
if you're one of those elite gamers like Eliteness down there and gaming in 4K and 144 hertz, then it's probably not
He
the
doesn't even
card
have a
for you.
4K monitor.
But
How dare you? Yes, he does.
The
He's got
world.
numbers in his name. He's the best gamer of all of us. Sorry, Gobi.
But
You're talking about
for the
this.
rest of you that are, the 1080p gamers, the 5700 XT is going to do more than you need to do and keep you well above the line for a long time.
Right now, the only thing the RTX supercards have over the AMD 5700 and 5700 XT is ray tracing, and there's like 5 games right now that use ray tracing.
And
wait, what was that market study
it
that
is
said by
coming
like
to
2022 we're gonna have standardized games coming out that require ray tracing, and that is when Ray Romano is just really gonna start raking in the cash.
Right?
Yeah.
it is coming to AMD. Like AMD is working on ray tracing, so it's not like NVIDIA is going to hold hold the ray tracing down. Like it's already came to the 1080 series. It's coming to AMD. Yeah.
I mean,
NVIDIA might have made it, but it's going to be an industry standard, so it's going to be on AMD cards, and they're going to handle it just fine. I mean,
of course, but the point is, like, if you're shopping for a card right now,
yeah,
ray tracing really isn't that big of a deal. And like the game, like I said, there's like 5 games that do support ray tracing, and it's not even full ray tracing yet. It's like they only support them in reflections or shadows or like very specific limited things. So by the time ray tracing is widely adopted and being used on a large scale that it does become necessary for us to have those capabilities, there's going to be a new generation of cards out anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just going to say, for anybody listening who is not familiar with what ray tracing is, it is the if you were in real life to go out, say, on a sunny day and look into a puddle of water at the sun, before you went completely fucking insane because you're staring at the goddamn sun, you would notice that there are these little beams of light coming off and everything like that. It looks very pretty. Ray tracing in games is how you make the sun look pretty, and as Omega said, a reflection or something like that.
Yeah, like ray tracing. I looked up the actual technical definition, and it's something that most people don't understand, myself included. But it's like it calculates every individual ray of light emanating from every individual light source in real time. And like this is currently used a ton in like CGI in movies and stuff, which is why movie CGI looks great. But it takes like entire server farms or like massive cloud computing to be able to render that shit ahead of time so that they can then use it in the movies. The big deal with this is that we're talking real-time ray tracing, where they're actually able to do it on a graphics card in real time as you're playing and rendering the game. And that's what's going to be significant about this breakthrough technology.
So it's calculating a source plot, and then it's calculating a plot where the source plot is landing, and then it calculates the plot where you, the viewer, are looking at that plot, and then it calculates a vector, or it's vector tracing or vector calculation, and it does alter.
So for
it alters
everybody else in the
pixels.
world, it does a really fancy math equation and makes the game look pretty.
Yes.
Easy. I just did those math equations in my head while you were saying that.
So, yeah, Linus is paid. That's why Linus is paid the big bucks, because he is a walking supercomputer.
Yes.
All I can say is I saw.
But if he's a walking supercomputer, why doesn't he run Linux?
Because he's got an iPhone.
Because I'm smart. I use Windows 10.
Fuck's sake, man.
No. So Linux is probably getting a huge update to the kernel, thanks to our wonderful friends at Valve and Steam to make it a little more gaming friendly, which is kind of nice. I did notice in the Wine patch notes for the latest version that came out, there was a bunch of fixes for things like the Epic Game Store and stuff like that. So they're definitely moving in the right direction with gaming on Linux. And by doing what they're doing to the kernel, it'll not only is going to help gaming, but it'll help multi-core platforms across Linux. Like, it's an innovation because of gaming, but it's going to have wider spread use than just gaming.
I'm sure all 10 Linux gamers are very excited.
I love Linux, man, and as soon as I can run all my games on, I can say goodbye to fucking Windows. The only reason I use Windows is because I game, but if I could, it would be Linux. Like,
I'm just curious because I don't really understand. It says that Steam is proposing changes in the Linux kernel. Does that mean that Valve is working with Linux distributors or to?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So the kernel is like the core of Linux. It's the brain, and basically what Valve is doing is they've made these advancements over here on the side, and they're going to take those and give them to these other people and basically infuse their code right into the core of Linux. So Linux is going to get faster and better at its core, which will increase, frames per second in games and stuff like that. I could get into all the technical stuff, but nobody will really understand it other than maybe me and a few other people. Basically, it increases CPU utilization for games, which increase frames per second in games and, makes them run smoother. It's not going to make more games run on Linux. It's just going to make them run better on Linux.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I have one question. You said the patch notes were called Wine?
Oh
For
no,
Wine.
the patch notes for Wine. Wine is what is it? An
Yeah.
emulator that allows you to run Windows software on Linux.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought maybe the patch was called Wine. I was like,
It's-
were they just calling it that in anticipation?
no, it's not an emulator. It's a function layer that goes on top of the kernel, which allows basically you can install Windows applications. It allows Linux to read exe files and DLLs. So it allows you to install basically Windows applications directly into Linux natively when they wouldn't normally run in a native Linux desktop. They've also
see.
improved.
Yeah, it's like
They've done
a
Proton.
lightweight virtual machine, or that you
Yeah,
don't
well,
even have
it's like
to
a
open
virtual
and run
machine.
through.
Yeah, it's basically built right into the core of Linux. It's a virtual machine that runs inside Linux, basically, that allows you to run these programs. It's like running them in shell, like.
That's pretty cool.
And then they've done Proton, which is just basically for gaming. Basically, that's a wrapper for like Direct3D and DirectX 10 and stuff like that. And DXVK, all of these are relatively new. They've come out in the last few years, and a lot of it is in thanks to Valve and the failed Stream machines. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I won't hold it against you because they were only around for a couple of years. They never really caught on. They were a great idea. They weren't marketed well, and it wasn't time yet for them, basically. They needed gaming to be on Linux in a much better place than where it was. But thankfully for that failure, it has done a lot for Linux and gaming on Linux. And hopefully in a few years, we'll have full-fledged gaming on Linux where I can be on Linux and you guys can be on Windows and we can play AAA games together. I mean, I believe Borderlands 3 will probably be a Linux game. Both the other previous Borderlands 2 games you could play on Linux and play with people on Windows. So it's cross-platform between Linux and Windows as long as you bought the game on Steam.
Something about Borderlands 3 being played on Linux gave me the weirdest half chub.
Hey man, to each their own. I mean, I know I'm kind of like the Linux nerd here, and I'm okay with that. I did get the Division to run. I gotta get some stuff cleared up, and I'm gonna give a couple of distros a check again here probably in a month or so, and we'll see how much farther they got. Maybe I can actually get into game now, which would be kind of neat to be playing the Division, even though it's first one on Linux. Might be able to get DrNiggle and the guys to reinstall it just so we can test out co-op.
Yeah, and speaking of half chubs, this stream brought to you by Ninja. Ninja, if you don't know, go check him out on Twitch. It's a good time. Oh, you can't check him out on Twitch anymore. Last topic of the night,
Nope.
Ninja switches to Mixer.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah, big shock.
I didn't see that coming, but I think it'll be good.
Money's money, huh?
It's definitely good for Microsoft.
Yeah.
I kind of like Mixer better than Twitch. I don't know why. It seems smoother for me to watch videos on crappier internet. This interaction is nicer.
I personally am a fan of
toxic.
Okay, I don't know about that. Personally, I like Mixer because of the complete lack of monitoring or punishment for using copyrighted music in your streams. I think that's kind of nice, just not having to worry about that while streaming.
Well, if they get any bigger, that will go away very quickly.
I know, and that's kind of one of the concerns about Ninja going over to Mixer. It's obviously going to give them huge exposure. Their platform is probably going to become more popular, at least in part because of this. And yeah, we might see some of the fun features. Well, that's not a feature.
Just for some interesting context, like I had heard of Mixer. I had no idea what it was. Like I had heard the name, but for a while I just kind of thought, oh, that sounds like a gay dating website. And when I did
Then
this
that's
esports
Grinder.
gig, we simulcast on Mixer and Twitch. And like you said, Mixer is a Microsoft property, and in true Microsoft style, they see somebody else had a good idea, try to rip it off, fail miserably. Um, see the Zune, for example. Anyway,
Zune.
Windows
Zune.
Phone. Anyway, so when we were doing our simulcast, the our live shows both peaked at the number two most watched stream on Twitch, getting more than one of them peaked at the Wednesday night stream peaked at 32,000, and the Thursday stream peaked at 35,000. Our Mixer streams peaked at 45 viewers on the first night and 53 the second night.
Yeah.
So
That kind of goes.
Ninja going there is massive. It's like impossible to understate how huge this is for shaking up the streaming space. And with all the complaints that have been going on about Twitch, like I don't know if you guys follow along with just like all of the complaints from streamers. Like there are a ton of streamers who just are really tired of Twitch and just the bullshit that they pull and unfair treatment of like unequal treatment. They like play favorites with a lot of streamers. Like certain streamers who bring in a ton of viewers can basically get away with murder. They don't get bans for things that other people get kicked off Twitch for, just pulling horrible shit, and nobody's getting punished for it just because they make Twitch a lot of money. So if Ninja Going can prove that there is a viable audience there, it could legitimately shake up the entire video game streaming ecosystem. And like I don't say that lightly. Like this could be very significant.
There are other gaming institutions or gaming markets that dual stream all of their stuff on Twitch and Mixer. One example would be Warframe. We went 1 hour and 12 minutes before we mentioned Warframe. It is a new record, everyone. Round of fucking applause. Over an hour before we
Good job.
mentioned Warframe.
Yeah, you.
But yeah,
I mean, I know like Microsoft games are a lot more popular on Mixer than they are on Twitch. Like Gears of War consistently has, probably their big tournaments and stuff are probably well into the thousands of viewers. I know Halo does really well there. Fortnite, I could see that not having a huge draw on Mixer right now because I don't really see many people playing it.
The only reason Microsoft games are popular on Mixer is because Microsoft forces their products, the tournaments, I should say, is because Microsoft forces them to be exclusive. Like the studio that I was doing our stream out of, it's actually a hilarious story if you don't mind a brief sidetrack. So when I started working with these guys, they were telling me that when Microsoft first opened this like brand new multi-million dollar state of the art esports tournament space above their Microsoft store in Manhattan, they piloted, like the guys that I was working with ended up piloting hundreds of shows for them. And they did all kinds of things from different types of gaming competitions to talk shows to like all obviously gaming related, and nobody was watching any of them. Why? Because Mixer tried to claim the studio and was forcing all of that content to exclusively air on Mixer. And it turns out that Microsoft is one giant family there where all the family members are arguing over who owns who owns that studio and who owns these streaming properties and who gets to control what. And the Microsoft Store wanted to control what happened in that studio. Mixer wanted to control what happened in the studio. The Microsoft main office wanted to control what happened there. And nobody could agree on anything, and they ended up running it into the ground. And that show that I did there was the first time that studio had been used in 9 months. So
Jeez.
Microsoft has really tried to push Mixer, but no one was really buying it. Nobody was like, yeah, well, okay, we'll give this a go. So now Ninja is a major coup for them. Like, that's
Yeah.
a major grab. And
He was the right one too. Like some of these other mainstream guys just would not have fit well and brought the crowd they wanted to bring.
I can only imagine how many millions of dollars they cut him in that check.
Yeah.
Like,
The guy's set for fucking life already.
I have to imagine it was in excess of 7 figures. Like, this is at least $10 million they had to hand him to get him to, because you just think about how much money Ninja was making on Twitch. To give that up, they had to give him fucking everything.
Yeah, and it'll only a lot of he's gonna bring a lot of Twitch, like you said. Plus, he'll probably gain a bunch that are already on Mixer too that don't really watch Twitch. I mean,
There's like
he's a good streamer.
But there's like 5 people on Mixer. That's my point.
There's
not
more
popular.
people on Mixer than
Not
it
really,
seems.
When I was doing research for that esports gig, and like the streamers that we were talking to, like we had some streamers from Twitch and some streamers from Mixer. Popular streamers on Mixer, like the big ones, top out at like 700-800, maybe 1,000 on a good stream. That's like,
I mean, you're talking solo like Fortnite streamers though, right?
I'm talking like anybody, like people, like there just isn't a big audience on Mixer. It just doesn't exist.
I mean, Optic Gaming, Ghost Gaming, all those guys got great following on Mixer because their teams, that's where their teams play. Like, and I mean, a lot of the Call of Duty guys, will know those names because they're big in esports for Call of Duty. Well, they also have a Gears of War team as well. That a lot of fans go back and forth. I mean, yeah, it's not a huge like solo place, but a lot more teams are popular on Mixer. I mean, yeah, it's not nearly as popular as Twitch, but it's still the past couple of years it's gotten bigger. I mean, but this will only help make it bigger and actually help it compete directly with Twitch. I mean, before I wouldn't necessarily say it was directly competing with Twitch because it didn't have anywhere near the viewers, but it also doesn't have like in real life streamers or anything like that. Like as far as I know, Mixer is strictly games.
Yep. All right, so we're running over a little bit.
Yeah.
I just want to say I don't like Ninja. I was gonna say I hate him. I don't hate him. I don't really even know him. I just think he's a douchebag. So moving around to our round table, last thing of the night. Are you wearing pants? Yes or no? Leetness.
Mostly.
Omega. That's a no.
Nope.
Gobi.
I'm not.
Well, I'm not technically wearing pants.
That's a no. And DrNiggle is also a no. God bless America. God bless our pantsless podcast. Take us out, Gobi.
Yeah. Once again, thanks y'all for joining, and thanks y'all for listening. Hope you guys have a good night. Peace.
Later.
Bye.
Penis.
Oh, fuck.